So, are we on? Alrighty. So, hello. Sorry, what was your name again?
Scott Jarrett, Raewyn.
Scott Jarrett. Alrighty. Hello, Scott. My name is Raewyn, and I'm just going to come up with a couple of questions for you at the moment. So, I'm just going to start with tell us about yourself and why you're here.
Okay, well, I'm Whakatāne born and bred, and I'm following in the footsteps of my father and his father, because they were both councillors on the then Whakatāne Borough Council. Yeah. So, and Kope's got a special place in my heart too, because obviously I attended Whakatāne High. I was a prefect there, and I also lived just a couple of blocks away from the centre of Kope, so I know the area quite well, and I've seen it change a lot over the years.
Alrighty, thank you. So, what are you passionate about?
My passion is theatre, and I'm very involved in Theatre Whakatāne. I've just finished directing The Sound of Music, which is being shown at the moment. And that was a wonderful experience. You work with two sets of Von Trapp kids and get them to do what they need to do. But it really has been a wonderful experience, and I've been involved in theatre for 40 years now. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So, what is your fondest memory?
I think it probably was when I got the role of Jean Valjean in Les Miserables in Rotorua in 2001, when I was fitter and thinner. So that was something very, very special. The role that every actor would aspire to do. But so that was very special, yeah.
That's so cool. Alrighty. So, who was someone you admire or look up to?
I've found that I can't put it down to one single person. I really think that, life's about experiences, and you learn from many of them, of course. And so I can go back to school days where I know I was encouraged by Michael Warbrick and singing and acting, and then Mr. Volmuller really helped me a lot with my mathematics, because I wasn't exactly an A student, but he was very, very caring and wanted to help. So I think it's people like that, various directors that I've worked with, not necessarily from in town, from out of town, who impart something new, and you remember those moments and treasure them, that learning experience. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. So, tell me about your youth and how you grew up.
Right. Well, okay. I actually went from James Street School straight to Whakatāne High, because at that stage it was the following year that the Whakatāne Intermediate had its first intake of students. So we went straight from primary to high school. And I can still remember we used to wear caps, and they had a dome in the middle of them, and the older students would go bang on your head, and it was like a little drawing pin. So you knew when you'd got bopped on the head, but hey, all of us turd formers, that's the treatment we got.
Wow. Okay. So, if you grew up in different circumstances, do you think that would have altered your childhood at all and how you are now?
I'm always going to be grateful that we were fed and cared for in the way that we were. We weren't wealthy people, but family was a priority, and how the family was looked after, definitely, yeah. So, and that got me through school, and I was helped further when I went down to Dunedin I was planning to be a art teacher, So I went down from high school to do a diploma in fine and applied arts, and then I was going to go to Teachers College and specialise in art. But I got a little bit involved in student politics in Dunedin and became managing secretary of the Students' Association. So I guess that whet my appetite for politics. So I was very involved with student politics in those days.
That's so cool. Alrighty, so I've got a long question for you. What were your goals and aspirations when you were younger, and how did you achieve them?
Okay, so the aspiration was to become a teacher, and in some respects I've probably met that because I do, when you direct in theatre, obviously you're teaching and you're imparting knowledge of a craft that you've learnt something about. I learnt a lot from that art school experience, and it didn't mean, even though I never continued with that path in teaching, it certainly sort of helped the base for me to be interested in the arts. So, I mean, I've been involved in Arts Whakatāne, and on the Arts Council and that sort of thing. I've been on committees with the library and the exhibition centre, and today I've also had a few terms on the Annual Grants and Young Achievers Committee, which is, so those are all things that are neat to be involved with. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right.
Alrighty, so who are the youth of Kopeopeo?
Well, they're obviously a bunch of caring young people, but from what I've observed, and I have seen the applications come through on the community board for the likes of murals, the same with on my Creative New Zealand committee. I've seen the application there, and there's another mural coming up at the end of the year. But it's so I see it. And of course, Taylor with the Find Your Fish. She spoke to council on that. So it strikes me that youth of Kopi is segmented and quite wide, but it's a bunch of people that care about the environment, primarily Kopeopeo.
That's cool. Alrighty, so what do you think it's like to be a young person in Kopeopeo?
It's very different to when I was a student and here. I think at times it can definitely be intimidating. I think that young people today need help with finding things that can be entertaining to them. It's times have changed somewhat, and what they need is very different to what I needed as a youngster. So I don't think it would be easy being a youth today at all. I think it's probably got much bigger challenges than what we had. We led, I think, more sheltered lives and probably a more comfortable environment than what young people have to face today. Yeah.
That's cool. Alrighty, so do you recognise? Oh wait, what was it? Oh yes, do you recognise the different stereotypes in Kopeopeo?
I really think this is something that's just changed. I don't think you could stereotype them at all. I can recall when it was a bustling, enterprising community. It had really good shops that did good business, and now today there's a number of voluntary organisations with shops that are just serving the public and selling second-hand goods, as we're here in Salvation Army today, and of course the SPCA have a shop down the road as well. But from my point of view, I've thought, well, I don't want to see it going backwards, and so I personally try to support businesses in the area so that they have the best possible chance of remaining strong. So I still think Kopi Indian is a very, very good Indian food shop, and I use the computer guy along the road as well, because I want to see him succeed. So, you know, I want to see Kopi be here forever and remain a very good second business hub in town.
That's cool. Okay, so what is it like to be a person your age in Kopeopeo?
I've got silver hair now, and so I feel that at times that brings a little bit of respect, and but as long as what I look for and think, is this environment clean and is it tidy? And I think our from time to time we've had to rev up the open places and department and say, hey, it needs a tidy, and sometimes Pride Whakatāne have come in and helped as well to just tidy it up a bit. So I'm not bothered by it too much at all, but I do think it could be a lot better, yeah.
Love that. So, do you think the council could improve the situation of Kopeopeo here?
I recall when there was the Kopi Businessmen's Association, and they really competed and did the very best they could. I guess it proved that private enterprise can't do it alone. So, no, the... oh, sorry, can you...
Yeah, sure. So, where was I? Oh, yes. Do you think the council could improve the situation of Kopeopeo?
I don't. It gets regular footpath cleaning, it gets the gardens done, it actually has had urban design thrown at it. I know there's new signage planned, but I think that one of the things that's happening at the moment is the Blue Line project. Now this is designed to come out with the transport survey, which will be finished middle of next year, and they want to create routes with a blue line for pedestrians, cycling, and that will cater for obviously mobility, scooters, walkers, runners, the works, and it's supposed to be a good central safe route so that people can get through the town, and hopefully will reduce the number of vehicles that are being dropping people off at schools and things like that, because there would be good wide designated walkways like this. So that's a project I really want to back, and I think that Kopeopeo could become an integral part of that route system. So
That's cool. Love that. So, what was I? Oh, yes. What do people say about Kopeopeo, and what do you say about Kopeopeo as well?
I've always, I've just always known it as a second hub in town, and that doesn't change for me. Some of the dynamics have changed, but no, I'm proud of it. I'd hate us to try and be without it. We need it. Not everyone wants to go into town, and there's a big residential area here that it services. So, and also the new town plan has enabled high density housing. So it's all, I think council perceived it in formulating that plan as being a place where we could have more retirement type homes or accommodation over shops to a higher density than is permitted in other parts of town. So, yeah. No, I think that it actually has potential, but in different ways, and it's about tapping that potential.
That's cool. I love that. Okay, so oh yes, do you feel at all threatened coming here at night at all, or no?
Apart from going out for a meal, which I've done regularly in Kopeopeo, I don't think I've ever felt threatened. And the only other time at night I probably would be when I was driving through, to be honest. It's well lit, and I just haven't had occasion to walk through at night too frequently anyway. I did live just around the corner, so we used to walk to Pack and Save at all hours, and that never was a problem. Yeah.
So, what do you think the young people of our area want our decision makers to know about them?
I think the most important thing is that I hear is a cry for a voice, and that's no different to adults on the community boards as well. So I really think the best thing we can do is be very good listeners and get better at that. And I've worked with Bryant McIntyre on the Ahopi Whakatāne Community Board, and he's been the youth representative there. I really think that the community board should be empowered with a lot more than what they currently do, and that the voice of youth should be sitting alongside that, just as Bryant is now. I think we can grow that, and I think that would improve and give a much wider perspective of community when it goes through in reports to council.
That's so cool, thank you. Okay, so what do you think our young people feel should be important to our decision makers?
Should be about.
Okay, so what do you think our young people feel should be important to our decision makers?
I think I touched on it in the last, that we listen. If you don't listen, and communication is the key to everything. I recall one council where there was a councillor and the mayor at loggerheads the whole time. It was very divisive, it wasn't productive, and that council didn't achieve well, in my opinion. Subsequent councils that I've been on, there has been a much better communication link. And if people will just simply sit down and talk and listen to other ideas, then you can find different ways of moving forward, and often you'll find a solution that's perhaps was there in front of us all the time, but we never took advantage of it. So I think being good communicators and being prepared to listen is the most important thing.
Thank you. And one last question, but not least, do you think it's important for everyone to vote?
It's very sad when you see statistics that only about 47% of people eligible voted, and those people have determined who your leaders are in the community for the next 3 years. I don't think that, like in Australia where they actually fine people if they don't vote, that's the answer either. But I do think that somehow, and this forum that you guys have organised is a perfect example, it's creating more awareness, and I think that maybe a little bit more needs to be done at school level as well, so that people really and truly get an opportunity to be able to say, hey, look, I have a fair say in what goes on in this community as well, and I want to be heard, because the more the merrier. You get a better instruction from the more people that vote. Yeah, so definitely.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Scott. I loved the interview. Have a lovely day.
Thank you so much. Good on you.
great. We're going to make this, we're going to give you something nice.
Drink of water?
Yes. Water? I will. Should I just go grab one, go buy one? I'll just leave my wallet and I'll just sneak it to you. Is that cool? Because I have to get out of here by 2:30 to drop you off and then pick up my children.
So you have to stop filming at 2:30. So you're going to try and squeeze me in?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's... How long did the other people get?
Well, some of them like totals will take up like 45 minutes.